What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Cheers. It is time for your regular installment of Trades Lady Happy Hour. And I am super excited for this week's guest. I have not met her. So we're going to be meeting each other and getting to know each other on this live. But I figured it was appropriate because the episode where Faye and I did some work on a Tesla just aired, to be joined by a Tesla mechanic or technician who has also been a Tesla instructor. She sounds like an absolutely incredible woman. I'm super stoked to meet her. Justiniano, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. She should be joining us shortly. I just sent her the invite. So hopefully we will all get to meet her and get to know her soon. All right, I see your window, Jessica.
I'm refreshing. I don't know. Okay, there's
All
too
right.
many things going on here.
We're all going to be gentle with Jessica because she has not ever done really social media. I'm kind of jealous of her. I'm not going to lie. But she joined Instagram just for us, just to do this happy hour. So that's pretty freaking awesome. There should be like a reverse the camera image to show yourself.
Oh, Jesus, that makes sense.
Hi.
Well, in that case, let me plug these things back in because I thought I was hearing an echo, but
Oh.
Here we go.
Yay! It's so nice to meet you.
Same. I was looking through your pictures and I'm actually like way more excited. I wish I had more time to see the episode.
It was so much fun. Like I seriously, I said it in the episode and I absolutely mean it. Like I knew I was intrigued by Teslas, but I love learning. Like my two favorite things in the world are teaching and learning. And so anything that I can learn on that is new and different to me is exciting. But I test drove that thing and I was like, oh my God, I need one. I need one in my life. It is amazing. All right, so before we get too deep into conversation, because I have a feeling you and I are going to be able to talk for hours, what are you drinking?
It was on sale. It's Kona Big Wave.
Okay, is it good?
It's pretty good so far. It's not hoppy, and I'm not a hoppy fan, so this is good.
Yeah, I'm not a hoppy girl either. But I'm also like not a beer girl. I'm a whiskey girl.
I was looking at that picture too. Like, are you bourbon or are you like Scotch?
Yes. All
okay.
of the above. If it's dark and it's alcohol,
Yeah, I'm a whiskey fan. I'm more of a whiskey sour, but like I'm bourbon. Yeah.
All right. Sweet. I love it. All right. So let's just kind of briefly tell everybody who's joined in a little bit about what your current position is, and then we'll go back in time and you can tell me the story of how you got where you're at.
Yeah, my current position isn't really official, so
do we need to be hush-hush about it?
Well, there's nothing official, but what I'm currently doing is just kind of supporting our instructors now, which is really awesome, because I've been supporting the technicians by doing the instructing for new technicians in New York and then Miami for a session. And I've always been in customer service, and having the people that are doing the work being the customer is pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So now you're teaching the teachers, supporting the teachers.
I'm supporting the teachers. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So you said that you've always been in non-traditional careers for women. What's your background? How did we get where we are now? Where in your life, in your story?
I'm gonna start. Yeah, right. Where do I start? I guess so. The military is gonna be where I'm gonna start because that was the first like adult job. I was in the Navy and I was an MA or MP, like depending on which branch you're looking at. And we didn't have a lot of females being cops, and I think most females don't really look at being a police officer just in general as something that they want to do. But sometimes we're better at de-escalating stuff. So I wish more females would get into it. I know it's a really touchy subject now with everything that's going on, but
Yeah.
Having more females in more areas is a positive change, I think, for the most part. You know, there's some things that other people are better suited for, which is fine, you know, but we really should not be afraid to at least try out the things that are generally male dominated.
Yeah.
So yeah, started off as a cop in the Navy.
I love it.
I loved it. I loved it.
What brought you there? What made you decide to pursue that path? And by the way, thank you for your service.
No, thank you. It was so much fun. Like it's so weird to me when people say thank you because I just had so much fun. I didn't want to go to college is what happened. But I've always wanted to be a cop. It was either a cop, a lawyer, or a psychologist. So I went in the Navy, I became a cop, and I loved it. I loved it. I got to travel. I was island hopping.
Nice.
And I did a tour in Cuba, and then I finished in Guam, and then I came back to the States, and there's a couple of in-between jobs. I was a personal trainer for a little bit, and I managed a Santa Claus set, which was really awesome.
You what?
I managed a Santa Claus set in between what I wanted to do with my life after the military. It was actually seriously coolest thing ever. My idea was I want to go be an elf for a season. And it turned into I was managing the set, and we had the coolest Santa Claus. He was multiracial Santa Claus in Maryland, and people would drive like 2 or 3 hours to come see him because their kids could relate to him, and it was just the coolest thing. It was awesome.
Cool.
Loved it.
I was not expecting that to be part of your journey, so that's awesome.
I wasn't either, but it was great. One of my brothers came to see him. My dad danced Gangnam Style with him. Like it was a So if any of you guys are in Maryland, PG County had the biracial Santa Claus, and it was awesome. He was pretty amazing.
That's super cool.
and that was right before I went to Universal Technical Institute.
Oh, okay. Where did you go to UTI?
I went to the campus that they had in Massachusetts.
Okay.
I joked with people. I said I was going back to the motherland because I was born in Massachusetts and I hadn't actually ever lived there, like anywhere I could remember. Loved Massachusetts. Loved it. Unfortunately, that campus is closed now, but they do still have a couple other campuses and other places. And I started my automotive path technically officially there.
Okay. I went to UTI as well. I did. I went to the Phoenix campus way back in the day, but
okay.
So what made you go there?
I saw a commercial.
So the commercials work.
Commercials worked, and my dad's a mechanic, so he's the kind of person that people call and fly him into Maryland to go fix cars.
Oh wow.
Like he's just so bright. I wish that he would start getting into more of the electronic stuff, because that's where everything's going, and that's where my head was when I applied to tech. Because like it's the future. Like why wouldn't you stop tweaking carburetors and stuff? You know, like why are you fixing distributor caps when it's going electric? It doesn't. Yeah. It's forward thinking, you know.
So I mean, it's not like combustion engines are going anywhere anytime soon, but
not
like,
soon.
even if it's not full electric, like every car on the road has so much electronics to it that if you're not learning that, like you're basically making yourself extinct. Like
yeah, like it's you have to adapt, you know. So I went and I tried it out, and I first tried it with Mercedes. I was gonna not say their name, but they led me more towards being a service advisor.
Dude, I've heard that so much, and I experienced. When were you in school? Do you mind saying
2013.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2000 was when I was at UTI, and I was experiencing the same thing. They're like, okay, so you're into cars. That's cool. Why don't you just be a service advisor, though? Women are great at customer service. Just be a service advisor. I'm like, but I want to be a mechanic. Like, that's right. What I'm hearing.
And not all females are good at being customer service representatives.
Very true. Very true. But it's like with these happy hours, I talk to so many women, and some of the younger folks are starting to have like different experiences coming up in the industry, but then so many are still dealing with the same stuff of you should be a service advisor, you should go into management or some other aspect of automotive and not what they came to school to do, like what they wanted to do. So yeah, interesting. So Mercedes was trying to convince you into service advising.
I actually did it.
Did you?
You gotta make money.
Right.
And I was good at it. But yeah, it ended up being where I took in a lot of folks with the older cars. I had a soft spot for people with older cars that I think most people would just kind of look at kind of funny, like, what are you doing here with that old ass whatever, you know? But it's still customer service. Like, you still want your customer to be happy. I don't care if they're spending $20 or $2,000 on their car.
Totally.
Everyone deserves the same kind of customer service. So I ended up being more of that person before I left.
All right. So did you do the Mercedes program, or did you just graduate UTI and then go straight to being a service advisor with them?
I started with Mercedes while I was in UTI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the folks there are really great at placing people, and one of the ladies was like, hey, there's a spot open, like, do you want to try it out? So I went in and I was a valet first. Okay. Started off as a valet, and then there was like an in-between job, and then I ended up service advising. So I was there for about a year.
Okay.
A year and a half.
Interesting. All right, so how did you wind up back in the Tesla program or world?
The same person that recommended me to Mercedes reached out and they're like, hey, Tesla has an opening. I'm like, that sounds awesome. So again, I worked my way up. Like, I joined Tesla as a concierge. I was picking up phones and making appointments for people. And then I did that for about 6 months. And then I transferred to service assistant, which we don't really have much of anymore, but it was 2014. So we didn't have as many customers, and I was basically delivering cars back and forth, washing cars, doing minor repairs on the road, starting the kind of mobile service thing, but not quite. It was just like tire swaps and just small things.
Yeah.
And then I got the opportunity to become a tech in a new shop that was opening up nearby, which was great because it was closer to home and I didn't have to drive an hour and a half when there was traffic.
Nice.
And I was in the shop for a year before I went mobile service, and I was mobile service for about a year and a half. And then one of the instructors, so inside Tesla, we have regional training. So if you don't know how to work on a specific thing or you haven't been certified to do it yet, they'll either fly you out to a certain training center, or the instructor will come over to you and they'll teach you how to do it.
Oh, nice.
And one of those instructors reached out to me and was like, hey, we have this thing opening up. Do you want to teach? Well, I'm already doing that, but it's more one-on-one. So let's do it. And I moved out of Massachusetts to New York to do that.
Oh, wow.
And then I was starting to kind of move over to a different thing. And I came down to Florida because that was the plan anyways. And I was in Miami for a little bit and taught one final class there before now I'm doing kind of back of house stuff.
Okay. Did you go through the Tesla training, I guess, does UTI even have one with Tesla? No. Okay.
No, we don't franchise.
Well, okay, fair. But there's the graduate programs and whatnot. I went straight into the BMW program after UTI, but I don't think that Tesla has one. But don't you guys have a 3-month intensive or something like that for folks who
want? So that's the START program. And that's what I was teaching, the START program.
Okay. But did you go through that too?
It wasn't a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Very cool.
I got to learn with the techs that were in the shop. And it was awesome. We have such a great group of people. Everyone's so welcoming. I don't know. It's a really awesome place to work.
Yeah. So how does it work? Because Tesla doesn't have dealerships, technically, right? So you said you were a technician and then you went mobile service. Where were you a technician?
On the road.
Just on the road. So it was all mobile.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's gotta be fascinating.
It's awesome. I loved it. And I still have some customers that reach out every once in a while. And some of them just to say hi, which is awesome. We have such amazing customers We have amazing cars, amazing customers. It's an amazing company. And it's not just the cars, you know, it's more the broader picture of what we're trying to do.
Nice. I dig it. I can't imagine though, and I guess you know it's just different experiences, but like not having the people in the shop, right? Like, because so much of that, there's so much bad side to that too, but there's so much of like learning that goes on and information and knowledge sharing. Like, did you meet other Tesla technicians, or were you just purely mobile and remote and in your own little island of repair?
It was, I think I had a perfect mix of being in the shop before I went to mobile. So I had a really strong community that I could lean on if I had any emergencies, right? Maybe something I hadn't run into, but they had already seen in the shop, and I could just call someone that was in the shop and be like, hey, what do you guys do for this?
Okay.
But I mean, the service manuals we have are pretty descriptive, and everything just keeps getting better. It's like the cars. So all of our internal stuff has just been being really user friendly for the techs.
Interesting. But it sounds amazing. I had an opportunity at one point through Tony, actually, who introduced us, for those who are watching this. Yes, thank you, Tony. He had offered me to potentially go through the START program. And I was like, that sounds amazing, but I can't take 3 months off of my life. But like, I so wanted to, because I would love to learn all of the ins and outs. And in some ways it's so different. Like when we did the episode for All Girls, like there was so much stuff that made sense to me that didn't seem foreign. And then there was stuff where I was like, oh, that's totally foreign to me. How did you find the adjustment from going from, you know, your UTI training where there probably wasn't a lot of full electric experience, and then Mercedes, and then transitioning into Tesla? What was that transition like?
Well, the light bulbs are not the same. But I don't know. UTI was such an interesting place. I'm sure you have the same or similar experience where it was a bunch of like people that just got out of high school, and I went in as like an adult, you know, and I'm trying to learn something.
Yeah.
It was just such a strange. You get what you put into it type of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And because I wasn't necessarily using everything that I learned there while I was at Mercedes, I didn't remember a lot of it, but the seeds were planted. So when it came back up in Tesla, I was able to, you know, dust off those old memory files and pick it up quicker and really understand what was going on. Cause like anyone, if you're the type of person that can do it, like anyone can pass a test.
Right.
You know?
Not everyone knows which end of the screwdriver to hold though.
Or how to hold it. It's wild.
No, it really is. Like I've had technician apprentices that it's the hardest thing that I've ever had to do is to tell somebody who's like super enthusiastic about it, but like, this is not the career for them.
Yeah. You know, how do you do that? How do you do that? Like, how do you tell someone, hey, this isn't for you? Like I've had to tell people that, but I always feel like I'm really cold. And I know that this is how you have to do it sometimes, but like, how do you tell people this is not for them?
Oh my God. It's the hardest thing for me, but I'm also the person who like, I can't fire people. Like I'm so bad at firing people. Like the first time I ever fired somebody, it took me so long to get around to actually saying it in our conversation that he's like, Bogi, it's cool. I get it. Like, he's like, this is harder for you than it is for me. I saw this coming months ago. And I'm like, okay, thanks. It was awful. But it was kind of the same thing telling this young apprentice. He was so like doe-eyed and excited, and like he would leave tools in the engine compartment and have them like fall out on test drives, and he just didn't have it, you know what I mean? And I just pulled him in the office and I'm like, I love your enthusiasm and I think that you're going to do something really awesome in the automotive industry. I don't think that being a technician is your strong point.
Right on. So I'm seeing someone saying they've been desensitized, which honestly, I think I was at that point last year when I had to do it, and it was so much easier just like ripping the Band-Aid.
Yeah. No, it totally is. I got better at it over time, but I still hate it. It's like, I don't I don't like making people sad and upset, so it's really hard for
Yeah.
me. But I'm getting better at it. But yeah,
Yeah, it's man, it's such a wild thing because like the situation we had last year, I was thinking, okay, like we could try and work on this person more and have them go through and have the rest of the technicians suffer. And I'm thinking if I was a technician and I was dealing with that, I would be so miserable.
yeah,
And I don't want to do that to my other technicians. Like in that situation, like, yeah, the student's my customer kind of, right? But the technicians were more important. It's one of like, do you kill the one or do you kill the 20?
right.
The 20.
Yeah.
I think the 20 might be more important.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's a disservice in the end of the day,
Another
like as
point.
hard as it is for me. It's a disservice to the kid who isn't good at it for them to continue to waste their time. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like, go find your path. This isn't it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we got off track there. So
Yeah.
that's okay. That's what we do. I forget what we were talking about before we went down the rabbit hole. You were saying something before we went off on that rabbit hole.
We were talking about UPI and the things that I learned and relearned in Tesla.
Oh, yeah. So getting used to like the Tesla technology and just the Tesla mindset and how they do things so differently.
I think I had the advantage of just having a blank slate.
Yeah.
I didn't have to undo any bad habits or anything. So everything that I've learned about cars pretty much has been just Tesla. Like I know how to change my oil. You know, I can change a tire, and tires are pretty universal.
Yeah.
You know?
For the most part, right?
Right, and the suspension components are mostly the same. But really honing in on the electrical part was I don't want to say easy because everything I do takes work. I'm not the kind of person that will read something once and then remember it forever. I have to read it like 50 times.
Yeah.
So as long as I know where to find it, which is a lot of what we do is being able to find the information.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's not hard. Not everything. Most things come apart really easy. And they go back in easy. And I tell my students, if it's not going in easy, you're doing something wrong. Look at what you're doing. Pay attention to detail. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
People don't know how to pay attention to detail.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about that with some folks today, actually, because I grew up in BMW, right? And it's the same thing. Everything's very precise. Everything's fits the way it's supposed to fit. And if it doesn't go, you did something wrong, take it apart and inspect. And I always thought that just use a bigger hammer was never an acceptable answer, right? But then I started working on domestic cars, especially older domestic cars, like your dad's cars that he works on, right?
Loves Volkswagen.
Using a bigger hammer really is the thing. He does Volkswagens. That's awesome. That's where I got my start. That's fantastic. Okay, so maybe not with Volkswagens, but like older domestic cars.
Yeah.
Using a bigger hammer is actually often needed. And it's this totally different mindset of just make it fit versus if it doesn't fit, you're doing something wrong, take it apart again. And I feel like newer cars in general are going that direction, but it's a totally different mindset.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many T25s are jacked up because someone wanted to use a T20. Because, oh, it kind of fits. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? There are so many passengers that could have been saved. There's so many lives lost because they used the wrong tool.
Those poor Torx head bolts.
You're even open both of your eyeballs, both of them, both the specialized. And look, like it's not hard.
Totally.
So, Matt Harrington saying crossguard. Our instructors don't let our students use power tools because we need them to figure out and feel what they're doing.
Yes. That's what
we don't have time.
Yes.
Yeah.
My very first boss made me do that, and I hated him for it while I was working for him. And then I thanked him so much afterwards. Like, for the first year of being a technician, I wasn't allowed to use power tools at all.
Yeah, because that's it. Shipping, it's not the answer.
But cross thread's better than no thread, right?
It's gonna hold, right? Until you over torqued it, and now the fastener is falling apart because it's stretched out. There's so many other things that can go wrong.
Agreed. Agreed. But it is like, I feel like Tesla, particularly even more so than like BMW or any of the other higher end vehicles, it's like you're truly like a doctor performing surgery on these things. Like it's process and it's doing it precisely, right? And I think newer cars are going that direction in general, where you can't just take a bigger hammer to it. You've got to step back. You got to be patient with it. You got to go through the process.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like, you talk to people, and I'm sure you've encountered this, where like, oh my God, Tesla, that's so scary. I would never want to work on one. And yet for you, it's super easy breezy, right? Because it's what you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. I get the same thing on BMW because people are like, oh, BMW, why? Those are so complicated. I'm like, I find Fords more complicated than BMWs. They're just different, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's all nuts and bolts, right? Like it's all just nuts and bolts, and it's figuring out how the different brands do the different things. And I mean, Tesla in a sense is no different just because it's electric. It's still like, they're still doing the thing, right? They're making a vehicle move. It's just figuring out how they do it and how they go about attaching things and disconnecting things. And yeah.
Still a car.
Right?
Still a car.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm so jealous of you. I would so love to go through and learn. Like I had so much fun working on that Tesla on the show. I was like a schoolgirl. I was so giddy learning things. I'm like, ooh, what's this? What's this? It was so exciting.
It's not going to be a spoiler alert. What'd you do?
So it's on the app already, so it's not a spoiler alert.
Okay.
We did some like kind of nothing crazy, right? Like there's not a lot of aftermarket stuff for Teslas. So this was not like the highest end version. So there were some of the like amenities and perks that it didn't have that the owner wanted. So we did like the soft close, frunk, and the self closing, and like where you could wave your foot underneath it for the trunk to open. I don't know if that's even a thing. It's an I guess.
No, we don't do that.
Okay. All right. It's pretty cool. Like you could just wave your foot under it and it pops open. And then soft close door actuators that like suck the door in, because he didn't have the kind that does that.
Yeah, it's a Model 3 that you guys worked on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like we don't offer that in the 3. We do the cinching on the X's.
Okay, yes, that's right. That's right. So it's an aftermarket company that provides or makes them. Most of their stuff was really easy to install. That was not. But and then I thought this was kind of weird. I still haven't wrapped my brain around it. We did an exhaust on it.
Yeah, someone was saying about exhaust here.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen pictures of it.
It's so bizarre. I couldn't get my like head wrapped around hearing a Tesla make engine noises. Just felt weird.
Oh, do they actually make noises too?
Yeah.
It's not just like aesthetic? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like the weirdest thing. So it's like it's a speaker in a muffler housing, basically. And
so what does it sound like? Is it like a Honda or like a Mustang?
You can change it. So there's like all these different tones that you can set it to. And then it's responsive to your, not throttle pedal, accelerator pedal. Yeah. So as you accelerate, it gets louder, and you can play with it and set the tone and do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. It's kind of cool and kind of awful.
I think that's one of the perks of like driving a Tesla around, is that they're super quiet.
Yeah.
Like
you can
like if you want to go do some sketchy stuff, turn the lights off, because you can still do that, and then go drive away. I'm not telling y'all to do that, but what I'm saying is like that's an awesome feature for the car to not look down.
Not that she's condoning doing sketchy stuff, guys, but maybe a little. I love it. So, okay. So on a more serious note, how long were you teaching for?
Since, I guess 2 years total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you enjoyed it, I presume? Like how?
I did enjoy it. It had more positives than negatives. And it's always fun. almost, it's like reinvigorating. Every time we get a new group, they're just so excited about the company. Like it reminds you, this is what we're doing. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
Like this is why our company's growing so much because people are so excited about it.
Yeah. That's
Jason's
awesome.
thinking about sneaking out. This is good.
Oh, the comments are always gold. Did you miss wrenching when you went to teaching?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you get to do it at all still?
I don't think I'm going to be doing it much anymore, like unless I tinker with my Kia Soul, you know?
I was going to ask you that, what you drive. So you have a Kia Soul.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's always one of the first things that people ask, like, hey, so it's always, do you get discounts on Teslas and what do you drive? And I love the Kia Soul. Like, I'm not saying go buy one, but it's paid off and it does what it needs to do. And I don't care if the dog scratches it and like hangs out the window, scratches up the skull cap, you know, like,
Yep. There's something to be said for that.
yeah, no. And if I had this house paid off and I had an extra amount hanging around,
a lot of
I would
money.
get Tesla.
Yeah.
And like, if I had the extra maybe 45 or 50 hanging around, I would totally get the Y. It's got the space that someone knows me in here. Yeah, I still have the Kia. So what was I saying? Oh, the Y has a space for me to do like what I need to do with the dog. And like, I'm going to say cheap enough to me, not worried about, damaging it or scratching or whatever. Like they're pretty cars and I definitely wouldn't want to scratch it, but unless I have like 150 or whatever the Cybertruck's going to cost, like it's going to get scratched.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. No, I feel like the cost, do you feel like the cost is going to come down more? Are we going in that direction or are they still going to kind of stay elite pricing?
As a non-Tesla employee, Elon's goal is to have it be achievable to like anyone to own a Tesla. So I can't fathom that they wouldn't get cheaper, you know? And I don't know, they're not really that expensive. You can get used ones for like 20, 30,000, you know, my Kia cost 17, like an extra 3,000, I would have had a Tesla.
No, it's true. And Mercedes and BMWs and all of that are like way more expensive than that.
Right. For a base model like CLA or like the 3 Series is a little guy. Yeah. Like,
does Tesla do like a certified pre-owned like a lot of the manufacturers do, or are you just kind of on your own buying used?
We did. I think we're transitioning more to like a used car thing, but I'm not too certain about the details. Like I'm not on that side. So I don't know the details about that.
I just saw somebody said their first electric car was a Fisher Price.
That's cool. I like it.
It kind of is. Yeah, I would love a Tesla and I don't know about it. Like I'm so kind of on the fence of it, but
seriously, the coolest thing is never having to go to a gas station, like unless you have to use a bathroom or get a snack. You know? Because I've been able to drive them around, you know, and I've done long trips and I love it. I'm not as exhausted as I was driving this rental car I just did for the last 2 days. But like I have this rental car that I took to go pick up my little baby that you guys probably saw pictures of. And I'm exhausted. One of the legs of the trip was 9 hours, which ended up being 10 with getting gas and using the bathroom. And the second leg was, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours, again, with stopping to use the bathroom and get gas. Like the extra hour that might have been on top of that in a Tesla would have been worth it because I wouldn't be so tired.
Yeah.
You know, like it's exhausting. You actually have to pay like extra attention to when you're driving a gas car.
That is true. And even if you're not doing the self-driving mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly I like the self-driving in the Teslas, but I generally do at least the adaptive cruise control because I do have to focus more to keep the car steady, right? But even then the car helps you out. Yeah. And you just aren't as exhausted at the end of the trip.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, all manufacturers, they all have their kind of like known failure points and things that we do often and repairs that we do often. What kind of repairs were like, if you feel comfortable discussing? I mean, I know that you work for Tesla, so it's a little bit like, we don't have any failures. Like all manufacturers would say that. But.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that I'm allowed to talk about, but I'm sure people have a lot of opinions in the forums.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Let's see, Mr. Uncle Sam's asking if I could make the 9-hour trip in an electric car. So the same 9-hour trip that I made, I probably would have ended up making in maybe 10 hours because it would have taken me maybe 35 to 45 minutes at a stop to charge, which I wouldn't even mind because I had the dog with me and I would have taken him out for a walk and I would have sat down and actually ate something instead of just like beef jerky and cheese, you know? So like, you know, top off an extra maybe 30 minutes to every 40 or 400 miles that you drive.
Okay. Interesting.
That's actually probably generous. When you think probably every 300 miles add an extra like 30 minutes, but
it's not bad. That's not bad at all. So were you like one of few women in as a Tesla technician? Was it a little bit more?
Yes, but we have so many females working on cars now. Like it's the coolest thing. It's really cool.
At Tesla or just like in general, you mean?
In Tesla, like we're actually super trying to figure out which words I want to use for this. We're welcoming to females that want to work on cars. Like if a female comes to us and like, hey, I want to fix cars, we're like, cool. Where do you want to work? You know? Not like, okay, cool. Do you want to try like talking to people first and see how that works out for you? No, you want to fix a car, go fix a car. Like we need people that want to fix cars.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest frustration with so many of the dealerships and the shops. Like we need technicians. We need technicians. And then yet when women particularly, but new people in general come and say, I want to learn. We're like, no. Right?
See, it's crazy. Like, why wouldn't you want to teach people how to fix cars? How else are they going to learn?
I don't know. I'm so tired of like running into like the older generation. And this is not all of the older generation by any stretch. But there's a lot of folks with this mindset of I worked really hard to learn these things, and why should I make it easier for you? Like I had to fight to learn this stuff. And I think
because the people before them sucked. That's why.
Right. So like, why are we going to replicate that? Why do we keep going with that? And technology is changing so quickly, and our workforce is aging out. Like they're retiring, and we have nobody to take their place. And yet we still turn away 50% of the population because they're female.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Females, younger people, older people, people that are like changing careers. I don't know why people just don't want to spread the knowledge.
Right.
Like, cool, you paid $30,000 to go to UTI. Well, nobody told you to do that. You know?
Right.
Like this kid wants to fix cars. He's not going to be a grumpy old fuck. And like, teach him
yeah.
or her or them or whatever. You know, someone wants to fix a car, teach them.
Yeah. Take them under your wing. Give them a chance. Somebody did it to you at some point. Share the knowledge.
Thoughts. You should have learned from it.
Right.
Like, why do you want to keep treating people like that?
I
don't know.
There's a culture, I think particularly in dealerships, and I think there's a culture that kind of fosters that because it becomes this competitiveness with the flat rate system that technicians feel like, okay, if I help you out get smarter, then you're going to make better hours than me, and you're going to take up all of the hours and I'll have less, right?
Right, so you're going to take my bacon.
Yeah, so it like totally, it fosters this competitiveness that I think doesn't need to be there. Does Tesla pay on the flat rate system?
No.
So it's just salary or?
We're hourly.
Hourly, okay.
So we actually, from my experiences in the shops, everyone's willing to help each other out. And that's one of the things where like I see it in other places where nobody wants to teach anybody anything, but everyone in the shop wants to teach someone something. And it's awesome. Like we're one big crazy electric family. that wants to try to save the environment, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And it makes everyone else's job easier. If everyone knows how to do everything, you don't have to wait for the one guy or girl that's really good at doing that one thing. Teach everybody how to do that thing.
Yeah.
Why are we going to have a blog?
Right. And no matter what anybody, like, I know that there are folks out there, and I've seen a couple of the comments that are like, never are they wanting to get into electric, or that, you know, why you can't test. I saw somebody mention drag racing or NASCAR, Tesla, right? And I guess no matter how you feel about the all electric or not all electric, like, whatever your feelings are about that, the culture in and of itself is something that I think there's a lot to learn from. Just that, right? Like, just that piece of, there isn't that competitiveness, that we are welcoming in people and teaching them, and it isn't this constant battle for knowledge and battle for hours. And I wish there was more of that.
Yeah. And Petrol, which says that she should come to Tesla, and I agree. You should come to Tesla.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great. Petrol Witch came and hung out on the build in Phoenix, which you should come out and work on the build with us. You should.
You know what? I like traveling. I'm not gonna lie. I like traveling. And if I can figure out how to do work and make the drive, because I'll probably take the dog with me, because, you know, he's getting old and
yeah,
gotta enjoy him while I can. But that sounds great.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. But Petrol Witch was
Tony's on the call, so he can talk to my manager.
Nice. Yeah, she's having a hard time getting her foot in the door. Kind of same thing, where she's getting turned down. She's being put in, like, you know, just the more menial positions. And I hear that story often. I interviewed a woman a couple of weeks ago who teaches out in California, and she had students that she was placing in dealerships, and they were never moving them off the car wash positions and giving them a chance. And it's just so unfortunate. So it's refreshing to hear electric combustion doesn't matter. Like, it's refreshing to hear about a company that is embracing new technicians and teaching them.
Yeah.
Wish we could all learn something from that.
I know, right? I mean, honestly, I'm glad we're doing this live, because I wish that more companies would take this approach.
Yeah.
Like, someone comes in saying they want to fix a fucking car, let them fix a car.
Yeah.
Everyone's so desperate to get more technicians out, and they don't even want to hire them. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not just the dealerships, right? It's the independent shops. It's all of the folks in the automotive industry. We kind of talk out of both sides of our mouths. On the one side, we're talking about how we need more technicians and how we're looking for people, and we'd pay anything to get a good technician. And then we're not willing to train people up and bring people in. And instead, the want ads are always must have 10 years of experience. All right, well, how are you supposed to get that experience?
Right.
Like, nobody's born with that. Like, so how does that happen? And we just have to take responsibility as an industry that if we want to fix the trade deficit, we need to raise them up and let them in, right? Like, this is one of the hardest industries, I feel like, for people to get into. You pay $30,000 for school, you pay, you know, $1 gazillion for tools, and then
they're working at AutoZone.
Yeah.
Or waiting. Like,
Yes.
It's both great things. Like, someone needs to do it, but like, that's not what you paid for.
Exactly. Like, we put so many barriers of entry, and then we wonder why we don't have more people. Like, here, jump over this hurdle, and then this hurdle, and then this hurdle, and then this hurdle. And
then just kidding, you can't have it.
Exactly. And then we wonder why they leave.
It's wild. It's wild.
It really is. Okay, so Dad was a Volkswagen tech, old Volkswagen, huh?
He works on everything. Okay. He really likes Volkswagens for some reason.
Because they're the gateway drug. Volkswagens, they are the gateway drug into working on cars. I started with a Volkswagen Bug, so I totally get it. But so I'm assuming, but maybe I'm wrong, I guess I should just ask it as a question. How was he supportive of you going into being a mechanic or technician?
He didn't know. But now that I'm in it, he's super proud, and like, he brags about everything. Like, he's got 2 boys, like in addition to me, and he always thought that one of them was going to do it. And it's actually still really funny because like when he does work on a car and he's like fighting to get these little connectors off, I'm like, Dad, just let me take that connector off. Like I work on plastic stuff all the time. Just let me, and then he gets mad and he breaks the connector and then I have to take the rest of them off.
Right. How does he feel about you working with Tesla versus?
He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it. Well, I let him drive an X a couple years ago and he fell in love with it. So nice. He's on board with the electric cars.
Nice. I feel like all the naysayers just need to go and drive one and then come talk to us.
Yep, exactly. Everyone's like, oh, but I'm going to miss the sound, or like the screen's in a weird place. Like you get used to it. And then you get back in your car and you're trying to figure out how to shift your own car because you forgot how to put it in drive.
Right. The acceleration alone on them is just, it's roller coaster acceleration. Right? Yes. Like it's like you feel it. Yes, you feel it in your gut. You're like, oh wow, that was, because it's immediate and it's like I had never experienced anything like it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. How about like friends and family, folks in your community, like when you decided to go this path of going down the automotive path and being hands-on and tradesy, how was it received?
I think people are afraid to say it to your face when they're like, why didn't you go to college? And that's crazy. One, because like you still go to a trade school sometimes, right? Yep. So like, okay, I guess that doesn't count for anything, which is fine. But everyone's always like, oh, why didn't you go to college and go do something? Like, listen, I'm making a pretty decent fucking amount. Okay. If I'd gone to college, I'd be in crazy ass debt and I'd probably be bored out of my mind. Yeah. Like I'm doing something that's fun and I get to be creative and I get to actually help people, you know, like I want to be a cop to help people and I don't have the heart to do the cop side. Maybe being a correctional officer, I could help people, but even then, like, I don't think that I could help people the way I want to help people, but being able to help people with something that they use every single day is something completely different, you know? It's just, yeah, I'm a car doctor, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go to the traditional college route.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to use everything you go that route. I'm not saying I'm not going to college. I'm enrolled in college now and I'm going to start, for integrated business. So long term, I want to own a bunch of properties and rent them out like as vacation homes. But if I have to start hiring accountants and other like crazy managers and stuff, I want to know what they're doing.
Yes. So. Oh my goodness. Amen to that. We've talked about this a couple of times with various guests when we talk about like owning our own business. So anybody who's watching this, like that's a huge point. Even if you have somebody else do your books, you need to know how to do them. You need to know.
But I don't want someone telling me, oh, these numbers are right, but like they're skimming some off of the corners and stuff. Like, no. We're not playing that game.
And it happens more than people know.
The bleach might have sunk in when I was blonde, but it didn't sink in that good. So yeah, I want to go see and learn what they're doing so that I know I'm not getting taken advantage of. And I think that's a big issue with females in these industries, even if they're just going to go get the service, not necessarily giving the service, but getting the service. Like people need to know what's going on. If you don't know anything about cars, go learn something. Yeah. Because you don't need someone to tell you that you need a whole new cabin filter when you literally just replaced it a month ago.
Right.
I don't care how much your dog sheds.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like a fear around car care and car ownership that has been kind of passed down or just kind of societally inundated. A lot of women that even though they understand the concepts, like they understand what a dirty filter looks like, right? But yet when it comes to a car, it's, oh, I don't know anything about cars. Like it's all the same stuff. It's all like, it all applies to other things in our lives too. But I think women have been taught to be afraid of cars and think of them as this big foreign scary thing, and just asking questions and being involved and being a good consumer makes a world of difference, right? Like even if you're not going to be in it as a technician, like just be an aware consumer.
if you can figure out how much a cup of water is by using a measuring cup, you can figure out how low your oil is.
Right?
Like, I don't know why it's so hard.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Mercedes because they don't have dipsticks. But
fair. All right. Yeah. So we don't have a ton of time left because this hour went really, really fast. So I feel like you've probably been a pretty empowered and self-directed person your whole life, is what I'm hearing. No?
The main thing I remember being taught when I was young is don't start fights, but if you get in one, finish it. So,
okay.
So I kind of take that and apply it to everything.
Interesting.
And it's the kind of thing where like, okay, cool. So if you're telling me that there's an issue here, how do we fix this issue? And that issue could be, why am I not being allowed to be a technician? How do I fix this issue? What is the problem? What is the real problem? And how do I fix that? I don't know. I was just like, I think my mom really encouraged me to just go do whatever I wanted. You know, like, yeah, she wanted me to go to college, but she's also really proud of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just really early, I've had to kind of do the adulting thing. So I'm doing it. I'm still doing it. And hopefully I'll be doing the retiring thing soon. And
nice. Good for you.
And have the homes on an island somewhere that I rent out to people, and maybe I'll go party with them, you know, but I don't know.
Sounds fantastic. Sign me up. So maybe this isn't advice for the younger you, but maybe this is advice for other young women out there, and I'll extrapolate it to other men out there, like who are just getting into the automotive field, just figuring out what it is that they want to do. Maybe they aren't being encouraged to do it. Maybe they didn't grow up with parents as supportive, and go do what you love. What are your words of advice to them?
Nobody's going to pay your bills but your damn self. So go do whatever the fuck you want.
Short, sweet, to the point. I love it. That is awesome.
Yeah, like if someone's telling you to go do something, you better make sure that they're going to go pay for all your shit while you're doing it, and some afterwards, because if you don't end up liking whatever that thing is, who's going to pay your stuff?
I love it.
Like, you know?
No, that is absolutely perfect. I've always kind of said it as you know, at the end of the mirror, you look at yourself in the mirror, right? You're the one looking at yourself. You have to be comfortable with who you are. But I love the way you said it. That's fantastic. Nobody's going to pay your way, right?
Nope. Unless you're a sugar baby. And even then your looks are going to fade at some point. Hopefully you're saving some of that money.
Right. For real.
So, I mean, it's still a job. It's still a job. I'm not hating on you, but like, save that money.
Yep. It's a job. Absolutely.
Think for the future.
No,
you know?
100%. All right. I love it. I would normally at this point in the conversation tell everybody to like go support you on your social media pages and show you
on Twitter. Are you the like button? Subscribe.
I know, right? So you're like one of the few people I know who does zero social media. I think that's absolutely amazing. I'm kind of jealous of you. So I can't tell you guys to go follow her on social media because she's not there. So if
I'm a real person though, I promise.
She is a real person. You can see she's a real person. So if somebody was inspired or moved by this conversation and what you're doing, is there, I don't know, a place that they can go to support? Maybe it's not social media, but to support education or support the programs that are helping outreach and get new technicians in. Is Tesla doing any initiatives that are worthy of giving a shout out?
Yeah, so I'm working with a school in California. I wish I had it like written down out somewhere where it was legible, but it's short, it's the Eden Project, where they actually have an automotive program for high schoolers, and they give them scholarships to go continue pursuing an automotive degree or education after high school. So I get to validate that they learn the information, which is pretty cool. But there's a lot of programs like that. If you guys want to support anything, go to your local schools and go support their non-traditional programs, you know, like all the guidance counselors want people to go to college because they're getting a cut. Go help the kids that don't want to go to fucking college and want to go do something with their hands.
Cheers to that. Absolutely. Yes. Go get involved in your local school system. Trade classes are going away. And if we want to make a difference, that's the way to do it. So awesome. I love it. I'm so, so grateful that you decided to say yes and join me on this happy hour. I know you didn't know me from Adam before this. So I appreciate you taking the leap of faith. This was really awesome. And I hope we get to continue chatting more. And I would love for you to come out and play on the build. We've got some stuff that I think you'd be interested in that I can't disclose publicly yet. So you guys have to pay attention out there in Instagram land because we've got some fun stuff coming with the all-female build. But you and I will talk offline some more, hopefully, Jessica. And it was an honor and privilege to meet you. You're a lot of fun to hang out and talk with. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We will be meeting again here, same time, same place, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week is actually our 50th episode. So I can't believe it's been 50 weeks that we've been doing this. It's kind of crazy to me. So next week you'll be hanging out with me. That'll be the 50th episode, just hanging out with me. And then we've got a ton of other awesome women scheduled. So make sure you tune back in. And for now, I will bid you all a fantastic evening. Jessica, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you guys later. Have a great night.